Hi, Falcons. This is Mr. Harvey from Heights High School. I'm a teacher here at Heights, and I'm here to talk to you about our changing schedule for 2020-2021. So this is kind of what our typical schedule looks like. In past years, we've had a typical 8-block schedule. What that's looked like is on odd days, we've had 1, 3, 5, and 7 hours. And then on even days, we've had 2, 4, 6, and 8 hours. And so typically during first semester, which is represented by the 8 blocks on the left half of my screen. And so typically your student would have 8 classes first semester, and then same thing second semester, they'd have odd and even days and have 8 classes second semester. What we're going to do this year is we're going to make a slight change in that, and we're going to kind of switch around some classes. I do want to note that I haven't included advocacy in my little example here just because during different years, we've moved the time and place of advocacy around, and it's probably going to move a little bit this year as well. And so for right now, it doesn't really matter where it goes. I will show you here in just a moment our daily schedule and where it will appear for the first 9 weeks. So that's kind of the important part for today. So I'm going to leave advocacy out of this just to kind of explain. So this is a little graphic indicating how our schedule is going to change. So we're going to switch this block of classes right here, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th. Those first semester even day classes are going to get moved back to second semester, and all of our odd day classes from second semester are going to get moved up to first semester. If you've looked at your child's schedule, you might have noted and said, wait a second, there's only 4 or 5 classes on here. Something doesn't look right. You're correct, it does look different. The reason we're doing this is, first of all, it's kind of an acceptable schedule a lot of schools have used for a long time. Mays School District has actually run on a 4-block schedule for years and years. It's pretty common in a lot of different schools. I have a really good friend that works in Wisconsin, and his school teaches on a 4-block schedule. And so it's pretty common throughout the U.S. It's not anything super weird. But what we're going to do is we're going to what we call a 4x4 schedule. What that means is instead of having 8 classes per semester, your student's only going to have 4 per quarter. And so this is what that's going to look like. Your student's going to have first, third, fifth, and 7th hour plus advocacy, which is our study hall. Instead of first semester, this is actually going to be first quarter. And then still in first semester, they're going to have second quarter classes. Most of those classes are not going to change. So let's pretend, for an example, your student had first block English. Well, they're going to have English first block first quarter and probably first block second quarter. Same thing, let's say the third block they have math. They're going to have math third block first quarter and second quarter. If they have science class, they're probably going to have that 5th block first quarter and second quarter. Now we do have some electives. Most of the electives I teach are 1 semester electives. So a 1 semester elective is now a 1 quarter elective. And so there might be a chance that your student might have sociology with me 7th block first quarter. And then second quarter they might have financial literacy or World of Children or some other elective that they've selected. And so what's really important to note is your student is only going to have 4 classes. And the reason for that is, number one, it helps us decrease the number of students that your student comes into contact with during a typical school day. So instead of having 4 courses of students on odd days and 4 completely different classes of students on even days to be exposed to, your student's only going to be exposed when hopefully we eventually get back face to face. They're only going to be exposed to a limited number of students. That's one reason. Second reason is we know that students have been away from typical school for a long time. We've been away from typical school for a long time. And so this is easing us back into, instead of students having to jump into 8 classes right away, they're just jumping into 4 per quarter. They're still going to end up doing the same amount of work because instead of having odd and even days, they're going to see their first, third, fifth, 7th block classes every day. So they're going to have the same amount of time in the courses. They're going to do the same amount of work. We're just changing when that work occurs. So instead of spreading out a year-long course like English over the whole year, we're squishing a whole year of English into 1 semester. And doing the same thing with history and science and math and all these other courses. But again, the advantage is for your student, they're going to be doing a little bit more intensive amount of work in a shorter period of time. But let's say that they really don't like a particular course, or it's not their cup of tea, it's not their favorite class to be in. We all have a class that's maybe not our favorite. The great part about this is they're only going to be in that course for potentially one quarter or at the most one semester. And then they'll be into new classes second semester. And so I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to, instead of having to see my kids every few days, only getting to see them 2 or 3 days a week, I'm now going to get to see my students every day. So we're going to be a little bit more intensive. I think there's a lot more continuity that way. And so for me, I'm really excited about this schedule change. I think it's going to be fun for us. If we had made this change even without it being a year of pandemic and change, I would have been happy with it. And so I think there's nothing but positives for us, and I'm really excited about it. If you're wondering, well, what are my students' other courses? If you came and did computer deployment with us this last week, and you said, hey, I only see 5 courses on my student schedule, where do I find the rest? You can go to Parent View or Student View and look at your student's class schedule, and you can find all 4 quarters there. I just looked with a student the other day, and they were all there. And if you have other questions or other concerns, you can contact your child's counselor, and we can figure that out with you. But again, I just want to restate, your child's going to be doing the same amount of work. They're going to be doing the same stuff they would have done over the course of a whole year. We're just changing when they do it and kind of reorganizing the timing just a little bit differently. Okay? This is going to be our first 9 weeks bell schedule. We have no idea what the Board of Education will decide at the end of the first 9 weeks. And so we don't know if we'll be continuing to do remote for the second 9 weeks or not. And so for the first 9 weeks, this is going to be our bell schedule that we're planning on. First block, you'll notice, is 85 minutes. It's 85 minutes because we'll have some all school announcements that'll have to be communicated by the teacher. And so first block, that's when that'll happen. So it's a little longer. Third, fifth, and seventh block will all be 80 minutes long. And then we have 40 minutes for advocacy and 40 minutes for lunch. I like the round numbers. I'm a round numbers guy, so I like the 5s and 10s. That's really good for me. Notice your student has 5 minutes passing between each class, 9:25 to 9:30. That's not the only amount of break time they're going to have. We have really encouraged our staff to be mindful of not having students work for 8 hours a day staring at a computer screen. We don't want that. We don't want that for your student. We don't like to do it ourselves. And so we're going to be mixing in a lot of brain breaks, doing some different fun things, getting up and moving around, trying to do everything we can to make this as engaging and awesome for our students as possible. We love being here at Heights, and all of us as a faculty are committed to doing our absolute best to make this a great year for your student. And so we're going to try to integrate as much movement and doing new things, trying different stuff, trying to be as positive as we possibly can, even during this really difficult time. One other thing to note, our lunch right now, while we're remote, our actual lunch time is 40 minutes. But technically they have 5 minutes on either side of that for passing period. And so actually your student has a full 50 minutes for lunch. And they will still have, approximately that amount of time when we come back to school. And so we're really trying to give them, again, as much time as we can, whether they're remote or face-to-face, to visit with one another, following social distance practices and those kinds of things, but also just getting them up and moving so that we're just not sitting all day, because we know how bad that is for us. So hopefully this answers all your questions about our bell schedule. And if you have any more, you can feel free to contact us here at the school. But I really hope this has answered a lot of your questions. Please really help your student get excited. We're really excited for this year, and we know it'll be different, but we're absolutely, like I said, committed to making this the best year ever. And so please help us work together to make this a great year for Falcons, 2020, 2021.